Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, and if you are new then a big huge welcome to you and happy World Autism Awareness Day! Woo! Well, World Autism Awareness Day is a very big day during World Autism Awareness Week because, let's face it, Autism Awareness Week should have its own special day, but yes, I'm definitely feeling happy about today, and I won't go into too much detail, but in today's video, I've done something that's really different, and I've never done anything like this before, but I've had so many people who have been so wonderful, and honestly I had a really good discussion, and to be honest, even though we recorded for about 2.5 hours and a few people had to go during recording, I felt that it's been a very positive experience and I really enjoyed myself. But without further ado, let's get to this very special surprise video. So it is officially World Autism Awareness Day, but I do not just have one person with me, I have 6 people with me today, well 7 including me, but I managed to get 6 people to not just collaborate but organise a whole panel for World Autism Awareness Day. But I won't go into too much detail because I know everyone wants to introduce themselves. So from the gallery view, please tell me guys, what are your names, when you were diagnosed, and what are your jobs, hobbies and interests?
Yeah, okay, so my name's Leanne. I was diagnosed in 2011 and my hobbies are arts, dramas, all that sort of stuff. And my job before COVID was at Hampton Court Palace.
My name is Jack Hoskins. I was diagnosed with autism. I just don't know when, but at a very early age. And my job occupation is a stage actor, and not to mention artist and sketch artist and cartoonist and model maker.
Okay, well, hello, my name is Mark, Mark Simpson-Wage, full name. I was diagnosed in 1995. I don't have a job, but I am a YouTuber, and I'm a big Jerry Anderson fan. That's the guy who created TV shows such as Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, and Space 1999. Love sci-fi.
Captain Scarlet's my favourite.
My name's Victoria. I was diagnosed in 2017 when I was 25. I don't have a job, but I'm currently a PhD student researching adult autism diagnosis.
So my name's Andy. I was diagnosed 1996, 1997, somewhere around there. Don't really know when. But in terms of my job, I am a administrator. Hobbies, interests, well, I do YouTube videos as a hobby, and other interests, just making videos and playing music.
Hi, I'm Eva. I was diagnosed at the age of 7 and I have a planner Instagram. Yeah, that's my hobby and interest.
And I'm says I was diagnosed between 96 and 1997. Obviously I am a YouTuber and I've been doing World Autism Awareness Week for a week, so you've been bored with me right now basically. But yes, and also I am doing this autism panel, so I explained it to everybody on the panel, but I'm going to explain what's going to happen. So the idea for this panel is that I'm going to be saying some statements to everybody, and once I said a statement, I'm going to let everyone to give an opportunity to respond with either a thumbs up for agree, thumbs down for disagree, this little hand thing which I don't want to know the full name of it, but I secretly like to call it maybe or so-so. But if anyone wants to add some additional information to have a discussion with each statement, all they have to do is they have to press more in Zoom or participants, and then what they have to do is they raise their hand and just let them speak. So yeah, I think we're all got sorted. So the first statement is, I have trouble making friends. So is it either a thumbs up, thumbs down, or middle? Oh, Eva's middle. Oh, so is Leanne, Victoria. Oh, Jack. And who else? Mark And Andy. Okay, that's really interesting. I didn't really expect that at all, really. So would anyone like to have an opportunity to talk about it, or shall we move on?
I'll talk about it.
Yeah, go on then.
Normally I don't go out much, but I've recently been, well, obviously not since COVID, but before COVID, I've been going to conventions and special events, usually held at like the National Space Centre in Leicester. And I've made lots of new friends. Like a good friend of mine is Chris Thompson. He does a lot of CGI artwork.
I think there should be more support for people with autism to find work. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. Okay, so all the girls are having thumbs up, and Andy and Mark, and everyone agrees. Actually, that's really interesting. And does everyone have to say on this one?
Well, at the moment, I am doing a help support on Zoom here in where I live in Surrey that helps people with autism to find help with interviews and help find jobs.
Brilliant, that's really good. And Mark, did you have to say something about it?
Yes, there needs to be more support for helping autistic people finding a job, because I've sort of learned that these days, if you want a job, you have to be good at everything, and that's not fair. Because I struggle with communications and social skills, and didn't do well in English, and yet they still look at those qualifications and saying, no, I'm a practical person. Why can't you focus on the practical stuff that I'm good at? But like I said, these days, it's just so difficult, even before COVID.
True. And I think, Andy, you've got something to say that as well, on top.
Yeah, very true. Just to kind of go off what Mark was saying, I very much agree with you. I think also, like, in terms of getting autistic people into work, I think it's up to the employer to also have training on it, to see how their company structure and their culture and things can improve to accommodate.
Jack, did you want to say something on that?
Well, not very much, but what I can tell you is this: people with autism need to be understood and heard more often. You know.
That's really true. I couldn't agree more. So well said, Jack. Very well said. Having autism is a huge part of my personality. Oh, Victoria's so. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, and then Leanne thumbs up, and Andy's so as well. So Victoria and Andy, I'll leave that to you actually, just to explain it, because I think it's really interesting why you think about that. I really want to know.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's part of my personality. I mean, it is part of me, because my brain's just wired differently, but it's not all of me, I guess. So I don't necessarily see it as that way.
I feel like my autism is very ingrained to who I am. I feel like it's like anything, where if you've had it long enough, you know, like obviously I've had autism all my life, and it's one of the things where if you have it long enough, though, that how do I put it? Like, if you have it long enough, it just becomes who you are, you know. It's a bit like, I feel like if somebody had a limb difference or something, it just becomes who they are, you know. I feel like we live in a world where, you know, it's very environmental, so the way that you're treated or the way that, you know, you perceive the world very much becomes part of your personality.
When people use the phrase disabled, I am offended. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. Oh, thumbs down, thumbs down. Oh, maybe. Let's stack. I think we got a lot of thumbs down, and I mean, I would put a thumbs down on that. But who was the thumbs down? Would anyone like to say on that? Because I know you guys have a lot to say about this one. Some of you have mentioned it before on your channels and all of that. Do you want to go first, Leanne? Because you haven't really said much at the moment.
Yes. So basically, I understand it from two different point of views. So say if I go to a clinic and, you know, checkups, or when I do my diagnosis, this, say, oh, you're disabled. That I understand. But when it comes to, like, say, bullying or online bullying, and they use it in a negative way, that's where I have an issue.
It's kind of interesting because with the disabled, I actually had to sign up for disability living allowance, which later on became personal independent placement. The trouble is the way the forms are written in, they assume physical disability rather than an internal disability. It's something they need to work on, to be honest.
I suppose I really resonated with what Leanne said about how it really depends on the situation. Like, there has been times where I've like gone, oh no, it's a neurological thing. But I think as I've kind of got older and more comfortable in my skin, I have gone, actually, yes, my autism is a disability. It is something that makes, you know, it does block me from being able to do certain things, whether it's, you know, because of myself or because of other people perceiving me. And actually, there's been times where I felt really comfortable saying, yeah, I have a disability, I do need help, or I have a disability, so, you know, I do have to work that 2 times harder, 3 times harder just to get to the same point as everyone else.
Like, just in regard to the question, is disability offensive? To me, it's not, because it's kind of describing how someone may be. And for me, in terms of like my autism specifically, there are times where it's disabling, but I don't see it as a disability. There's part of it which can be disabling, but I don't see it overall as a disability. But I can also see the other side of it, where obviously people say, you know, it stops me going to doing certain things, going to certain places, etc. Maybe I'm a little bit more unsure, more than thumbs down, actually, just thinking about it.
But you're definitely not wrong there, Andy. It is interesting how people actually look at it in different points of view, and then yeah, that's definitely interesting, really, because I know a lot of people have to say about this one. But yeah, so moving on, I have used my autism as a reason to skip cues or get special treatment because that's my right. Oh, Victoria's got a thumbs down. Eva and Jack have got a thumbs up. Andy's not fit too sure. Let's see, Andy. Oh, thumbs down.
I'll go there.
Mark said so, and Leanne's definitely thumbs down. So Eva, do you want to go first to explain why you put your thumbs down?
I put thumbs up.
Oh, you put a thumbs up. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. So the reason I put a thumbs up is I definitely have done this at Disney World, where the moment I've got there, I've gone there, and because at Disney World, if you say I have autism and I can't handle queuing, you can skip queues, and I do it. I feel like it is my right. Being in queues does stress me out. It causes anxiety. So, and I know it's controversial because some people believe that if you do have autism, you shouldn't skip queues, but I believe that it's my right. I have the right to do that. Yeah, it's just like any other disability, and yeah.
Regarding the statement you mentioned, for queuing, I've never actually been in that situation before, but you mentioned also like special support. When I was at university, during my exams, I got a special support known as jotters. Basically, when during my exams, they would read the questions, and that I give time to think, and then I can dictate my answers, and they would write it down, because I'm also dyslexic, so I write very slowly. So with these jotters, they really did help a lot during the exams.
So is that school exams you mean by that, Mark?
Well, actually, that was during university. When I was at school, when I did exams, they would read the questions, but I would have to fill in the answers. Whereas at university, I can actually say the answers, and they would write it all down. But both university and school, I was allowed extra time for the exams because of my disabilities.
I did GCSEs myself, but I never did A-levels or any other exams apart from practical, because Eva and Jack, all 3 of us went to Chicken Shed together, and all 3 of us know that when Chicken Shed actually does exams, most of it is practical, while the rest is written. And we would say that well, I think I would generally say that when it comes to work at Chicken Shed, there are about 80–85% practical compared to written, if that makes sense as an example.
You're actually very lucky, because we didn't do much practical work when I was at school. But fortunately, I was lucky because I too did GCSEs and then I left after that. But I was lucky enough to be allowed a computer and laptop to type out any long answers for, like, say, like English or RE and things like that. Teachers were a little bit sketchy at first because they thought, oh, you'll probably cheat and use the spell checker. I was like, no, I won't. It's just that I find it easier to type my answers on a computer than just to handwrite. But I was lucky that I got to use one.
This is going to be a really big one because everyone's been talking about it recently on YouTube, but autistic savants like The Good Doctor or Rain Man are a work of fiction, and I have never met anyone like that. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. Oh, Victoria. Eva's thumbs down. Mark's same as Victoria. Jack's the same, so is Andy. What are you, Leanne? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe? Oh, maybe. Can we get like the maybe people just to talk about that, because that's really interesting. I want to find out more about it.
Personally, I've not met any that, but that's not to say that there are people that present that way. You don't know. Everyone is so different, so there could be people out there that are like that.
Well, personally, myself, I've never actually seen A Good Doctor or Rain Man, so but I'm agreeing with Victoria.
So I was just going to say, I'll be honest, I haven't watched The Good Doctor, but I have heard enough about it. I've never seen Rain Man, and again, I've heard enough about it to say that I do think it feeds the stereotype, and it's that kind of thing where I feel like the more and more we have stereotypes like The Good Doctor, the more likely it is that, you know, neurotypical people will think that we are like that. And I feel like representation is so important. I feel like there is no way that you can show someone who is high functioning on TV without getting rid of the other ones, because I feel like, you know, if you do that, then people go, well, which one's the real one, you know? I mean, personally, I've never met someone who is like that. If they are, amazing. I mean, I completely agree with what Leanne and Victoria say. The research isn't enough, and that really we should be focusing more on a really realistic portrayal. I mean, I know it's a great Hollywood, I know it's great storylines, but for me, you know, let's keep this great storylines for, you know, fantasy and stuff. Let's not, because essentially it's almost making a semi-fiction out of a real disability. You wouldn't do that. You know, if you said, oh right, well, we're going to talk about cerebral palsy, but we're going to change a few things to make it a bit more entertaining, people would be up in arms. But yet it's okay to do that with autism. It doesn't, to me, it just doesn't seem fair.
I recently talked in a video before World Autism Awareness Week. They did the same thing with, has anyone heard on Netflix called Special? It's not autism related, but it's about a guy with cerebral palsy who's gay, but it's based on a true story. But I never actually heard if the actor who plays the true life person, the journalist, I don't know if the actor did really have cerebral palsy, but it is interesting in the way that you said that, really, Eva, and I definitely agree with that.
I personally haven't seen The Good Doctor, but I've watched Rain Man. I actually own the DVD because it was for a video. It was for a video basically. I've still got it in my possession. Don't worry, I will get rid of it at some point. But anyway, at the time when that was obviously filmed, it was at a time when there wasn't much research and much perspective from actual autistic people. So I think it hasn't aged very well. I think we can all agree on that, and anyone who's watching can agree on that. But I think it's, yeah, I think as time's gone on, there have been better portrayals, though I think we still have a long way to go. That's all I wanted to say, really.
I only feel autistic when I'm around certain people. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. thumbs up. I think I left it as a trick question. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, so we're all thumbs up.
I do only feel autistic around certain people because a lot of the time I mask and I come across like I'm not very autistic. It does honestly depend who I'm around though.
I think for me, it's funny, it has nothing to do with masking. It's more the fact that when I'm on my own, I don't feel autistic. When I'm around certain people, like really close friends, I don't feel autistic. It's when I'm with certain people and they make me feel inadequate, that's when I feel autistic.
I am okay with neurotypical actors playing autistic parts in theatre or on TV if they do enough research. So thumbs up, definitely thumbs down. Oh, Andy, you got your thumbs up. What's the you're the only one that's got your thumbs up. Andy, do you want to add to that? Why you put your thumb up on that?
Well, I'm pretty sure I said it in the video at the time. Like the only reason I would say it's acceptable is just dependent on the role, really. But of course, what I would say is that it's really up to the production companies and the people who are doing these sorts of things to actually look for, people in the roles, not to meet a quota, not at all to meet a quota, but because it's right for the role. That's
I think for me the best portrayal of an autistic person was has anyone seen the film Snowcake with Alan Rickman? No, oh my god, it's such a good film. I think it's one of the best portrayals. But who was that lady? Sigourney Weaver. She actually did her research right, really. She's the only person I know who isn't autistic. She did some research by living with an autistic woman. I can't really remember her name, but she lived with the person for about 6 months, I believe. And that was the only actress I know who was dedicated to put into autism research. And I just didn't really see enough research from any film. Though, to be fair, some people did say to me that Please Stand By was a much better portrayal for some reason.
The best portrayal that I see that I watched from school, it was, have you seen the film version of Mice and Men?
Yes, I studied that for GCSE.
The actor who plays the giant guy, I forgot his name.
Lenny.
Malkovich.
Lenny.
Lenny.
I think he is a perfect portrayal of autism.
When I studied of Mice and Men at school, I always thought that Lenny was autistic, but my classmates were like, no, not really. He's just dumb. That's how he was portrayed, written in the book. He doesn't feel like he's autistic, and he's just written to be dumb. And I'm like, no, he's not written to be dumb. He's been written as something else, even though it's never mentioned in the book.
Lenny is also beautiful on the inside.
Yeah, he is actually. I agree with you, Jack. Would you want to explain why?
Well, it doesn't matter what he is on, the kind of person he is on the outside. The only thing that what's more important is that when you're so it's the kind of person you are on the inside, because you're so genuinely beautiful from within than you are on the outside.
Oh, Jack, that's a really lovely quote. I like that.
Thank you.
I prefer the company of others with autism. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. Oh, maybe. Thumbs up, thumbs down from Eva. Okay, let's focus on Eva first, because she was the only one who had the thumbs down. So Eva, why did you put your thumbs down?
Oh, so I feel really embarrassed now.
No, don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed.
So part of my autism is I do this thing which I call mirroring. I don't know if there's like a technical term for it, where when I'm around other people with autism, my autism is actually quite heightened. And it's one of those things where, and it's the same where if I'm around somebody who swears a lot, I start swearing a lot. And I find that if I'm with someone with autism for more than a few hours, it's actually like, it then, how do I put it? I find myself being more, like, having more of the autistic traits than I naturally would progress. And it's actually quite stressful for me. And it's like a curse, because I have no problem with people with autism. They're my people. But like, it's one of those things where I think, unfortunately, I found that it really affects my mental health, where, because I kind of have this almost out of body experience where it's like, I know that I'm not like this, or I know that I don't think this. I come across differently, and it's actually really not. It's kind of really annoying, because I'd love to have a better relationship with more people with autism, but unfortunately, because of this, I find that I don't.
That's really interesting, because I know that it's not anyone's fault for being frustrated, because it is understandable. Because I had a few people who weren't autistic said to me that they feel frustrated. I mean, teachers who work in learning support departments at school, I always found out through my own experience, they've always been so frustrated with me just because I couldn't do anything right. And then I don't know if it was in response to that, but someone said to my mum, says we'll never get a degree, she'll never get to university, she won't ever get a job or be in a relationship. And in response, my mum said, never say never. And it was really true, actually, because it is understandable people can be frustrated, but sometimes I don't know how you look at it, because it can be a different option, or it could be something else. I am currently in paid employment. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. I know what Eva and Andy are going to say, but has everyone else been like, oh, Leanne as well. Sorry, Leanne. I think the three of you as well. Yep, so thumbs up from Andy. Yeah, no, thumbs down for Mark, and thumbs down for Victoria. Okay, so Victoria, we haven't heard from you much about employment. Can you tell us?
Yeah, I'm not currently in employment. I find it really difficult having a job, but for the past 5 years, I've been in education, so that's pretty much why I don't have much experience with employment.
So I work in kind of a very technical role, and I work in a role where I do have to work with a mixture of working with the public, but also it's very much a safety critical role. So it's one of those roles where if I messed up, it would be catastrophic. And also, yeah, so it's a real balance. And it's probably like, when I tell people what I do, they're quite surprised that I'm able to kind of do that with my autism, actually. But yeah, it's one of those jobs where it's very nerve-wracking, and it definitely hits the anxiety.
And then Leanne, I know you got your hand up, but I'm so jealous, because you've got one of the coolest jobs in the world, and I wish I could work at Hampton Court Palace, but I'm just so jealous. But please tell me more about what you do at Hampton Court Palace.
Well, this was pre-COVID, obviously. I'm out of job at the moment because of COVID. It is kind of a stressful thing, because they're like tight deadlines and all the routines and schedules. But for me, my part of the job, all I did was greet visitors, hand out leaflets, that sort of stuff, and tell history. And because my specialist subject is history, easy peasy. It did take a while for the work people there, especially my boss, to understand me and include what I need in the job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I definitely see where you're coming from with this. And another question, do you dress up occasionally or when you're on your job?
I wish I did. No, I wish I did.
That's
only got a uniform sash. That's all I got, a uniform sash.
Oh, very nice. I definitely like that. And Mark, what do you have to say about this? Because I know, like Victoria, you're unemployed.
Yes, I am unemployed because, to be honest, I've never been able to get a job due to my autism. But I did have a go at being an entrepreneur and self-employed my own business. I called it Words to Pictures. Basically, the idea was to work with service providers such as government or shops, hospitals, things like that. Take any information they have in documents and forms and turn it into a more visual way, like videos, pictures, or an animation. That way that people who can't read fluently can understand the information, because there's actually 1 in 6 people in the UK that can't read fluently. So I had a go at doing that when I left university, and it was going well for a few years, but then the idea was just so good. People just wanted the services just for either low prices or for free. And I reached the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. So I had to close down the business. And since then, I've been focusing on my YouTube channel, because I know some people want a job, but I've reached a point where if I do get a job, I'd have to spend less time on my YouTube channel, even though I only upload like once a month, because as far as I know, I'm the only YouTuber in Leicester. And I sort of don't want to give up on my YouTube channel. I want to stay with it, because my dream is to sort of be like a famous YouTuber, just like you said, and maybe one day get the silver play button trophy, because I want to prove that, yes, I'm autistic, I'm dyslexic, but I can still achieve things no matter what.
Well, to be honest, I'm not really famous, to be honest. I wish I was, but I'm not really, to be honest. But
you've got more subscribers than me.
Oh, Mark, bless you.
Let's not turn this into who's got more subscribers.
Yes,
Yes,
that's true, actually.
let's
And me
not.
and Andy did talk about
Yeah.
that. So, yeah.
So, like what Sez was saying, I'm currently employed. I've been in constant employment for nearly 5 years at this point, very luckily. But for me, when like I left education about 2014 and didn't get constant employment until 2016. So there was like a 2-year period for me where I was just, going out, trying to find work, doing the whole interview thing. It was quite a lot. And initially I didn't actually disclose about my autism at all, because I kind of thought it would be employers would see it as a bad thing. But then when I actually got my first real job, I actually disclosed it in an interview. And, I just said, the reasons why it would be helpful in the role. And somehow I'm luckily still employed. So I think for people watching, if you feel kind of uncomfortable about disclosing it, use it to your advantage, I would say.
Sometimes I wish others could have a day being autistic so they know how I feel. Hands up, thumbs down, or maybe. Oh, thumbs up from Mark. Thumbs up from Victoria. Oh, thumbs down from Eva, and maybe from Leanne, and maybe from Andy. Andy, do you want to start off with that?
Yeah, I think to understand, autism stuff, you kind of have to know someone who experiences it. So I guess from that perspective, it'd be good, but at the same time, I feel like it's like if they experience that one thing, then they come away from that. It's kind of like the films and TV discussion before. It's like, they might experience it, but it's like, because it's so individual, it's like how can you like replicate that? I don't know if I'm saying it in a way that makes sense.
Oh, no, it does make sense. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I put a thumbs up, because it would be nice if people sort of understood how autistic people feel, but maybe instead of like actually turning them into an autistic person and then back again, I think maybe kind of like what maybe Andy says, maybe all autistic people could be different. Maybe they need to see like several autistic people, maybe observe them. I mean, don't use them like lab rats, but just to have a look how their daily life goes, and see like the life of an autistic person in a week, perhaps.
I agree with Mark. Instead of being in our shoes, they observe. I think that's what we do as a YouTube. In my YouTube, we do a YouTube. We have the autism acceptance and awareness. I think that's what YouTube is for us, to bring awareness, bring acceptance. That's basically observation.
Victoria, I know that's a you put maybe. Well, why is that?
I just think that a lot of the time I've heard people say, oh, well, everyone's a little bit autistic, aren't we? Everyone's on the spectrum somewhere. And I'd kind of like for people to kind of have a day in my shoes so I can just be like, well, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. Not everyone is autistic. And just to kind of let people see that.
No one has ever or will ever understand what my autism is like, even others on the spectrum. So no one else has ever or will ever understand what my autism is like, even others on the spectrum. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. Oh, Eva's maybe. So is Victoria. Oh, and so is Mark. Oh, Leanne's got the thumbs up. That's interesting. And then Andy so. Leanne, why did you put the thumbs up?
Because of the way I was diagnosed, my private physician put medium, like low, medium functioning, and basically means like, I don't know, like I can speak, I can, do all the stuff. And because I have other mental illnesses as well, with PTSD, I have depression, I don't think they can really understand my brain, the way it works, especially what I think and what I've been exposed to on the internet. It's a very weird place up there.
Yeah, that's definitely a good description, actually. That's really interesting. And Eva, what do you have to say about this one as well?
I think for me, it's one of those things where I agree and I don't. So I don't ever think, oh, I'm the only person who's ever had to deal with the things I have to deal with. I think a lot of people with autism have a lot of things in common. But I do think it is a spectrum. So I think I'm in the middle, because there are times where it is very isolating, or it is very hard, but I know in my mind, yes, other people have gone through this. But at the same time, I do struggle when other people with autism go, well, it's fine, if I can do it, you can. Because I think, well, you might be really good at one element, I'm terrible at that. And I might be terrible at something that you're really, like I think the thing is, like I said before, autism is not a linear line. I know some people with autism who have so much confidence, and I wish I could borrow a bit of their confidence, And then I know people with autism where their biggest problem is their confidence. I think that autism affects us all so different. I do think that, it's never going to be, I think nobody can fully understand anyone.
My autism has made my love life more difficult. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. And I am going to be joining in on this one, really, to be honest. Aunt Victoria's me, and so is Andy. Eva's thumbs up, and Mark and Leanna maybe as well. Eva, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So I am engaged, and I definitely would say between me and my fiance that we do notice my autism. I definitely think there are times when it is one of the times where I do feel autistic is sometimes with my fiance, and I think my autism does affect this, but yeah, I think that it definitely adds another level, another challenge. But then I think in some regards, I don't think we'd be together if I didn't have autism. So it's not a problem, it's just, it's there. It's almost like the third person in the relationship. It's always going to be there.
Ah, that's it. And Andy, you've got something to say about it as well, because I know we talked about it in our collab earlier during this week.
Yeah. Like previous relationships, I kind of felt that my autism was a hindrance because the other person didn't necessarily understand it. I mean, the last relationship I was in before meeting my now fiance for like 7 years, I didn't disclose it because, again, it was just that thing of will they understand it, will they get it? And I just basically decided that, they wouldn't, because that's the impression I got. But when I met my Nicola, I pretty much disclosed it straight away. And she wasn't too fussed. She didn't make a big deal out of it. Like, she looked into it for herself, which was great. you know. So yeah, that's all I had to say, really.
That's really sweet though. That actually it was amazing. But it just goes to show how much Nicola is absolutely amazing, Andy. So Nicola, we salute you. You are amazing to Andy. Victoria, with you and your husband, what do you have to say about that?
I noticed in my past relationships, I was undiagnosed at the time, but me and my previous partners were so different, and there were so many things that we couldn't relate on and so many difficulties. But when I met my husband, he actually got diagnosed before me. So we're both autistic, and we're very, very different people. But there's sometimes where he gets me, get him, and we relate on like a deeper level. And I find it easier because we have that understanding.
Being diagnosed helped me understand who I am. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. Oh, Victoria's got thumbs up. Eva's baby, so is Andy.
I would just give a thumbs
Oh,
up.
look, Andy's changed her thumbs down. And Mark and Leanne said yes. Let's focus on Andy first, because I know that with the thumbs down, you might have a lot to say on that.
Well, when I found out about my diagnosis when I was 10, I kind of didn't like the idea, though. As I've gotten older, I've kind of, it's kind of helped me understand myself, but not at the time. Like, just with the question, it kind of made it sound like as soon as you got diagnosed or you heard about it, it kind of helped like understand you. It wasn't like that for me. It took kind of years to accept it, basically.
I was like that as well, because oddly enough, Andy, I found out I was autistic when I was 10, and I didn't really accept it until I was adult. So we went in the same path and direction. But that's really interesting, because how did you find out about your autism diagnosis?
I found out through my mum, basically. Well, basically, me and my mum were waiting for the ferry to cross the River Tyne, and for some reason we got talking about how I felt different in school and stuff, and yeah, she kind of just brought it up in conversation while we were waiting for this ferry to come back over. So.
That's interesting. I know with me as well, when I found out when I was autistic, my mum and my dad, they would take me to like lots of like things to do, like speech therapy. When they took me to speech therapy, when they took me to occupational therapy, so they can so I needed help learning how to walk and how to keep my balance and all that. I don't know the full technical names, but I only found out when I did a few weeks course on understanding yourself in a special group, and that's how I found out I was autistic, through that. My parents never told me I was autistic, never. And I didn't ask why. I didn't really ask anything. I just brushed it off like, yeah, okay, I'm not interested, I just want to do something else. But as I got older in secondary school, it became more obvious that I was completely different, and I just didn't know what to do. But when I started at Chicken Shed, my mind was changed completely, and that was during a session about inclusion, and it really opened my eyes a bit, and I just accept it now, really, to be honest. But yeah,
I found, for me, I was diagnosed when I was 25, so I had gone my entire life thinking that something was wrong with me. I knew that I had so many difficulties, and that I just knew that I was weird. And when someone finally told me you're autistic, it all made sense for me. So it's just kind of like straight away, like a light bulb. I was like, oh, so that is why I'm like this.
I find some people with autism use it as an excuse to be mean or inappropriate. So they use autism as an excuse to actually be angry or be inappropriate around everyone. Oh yeah, Victoria says maybe. Eva says yes. Who else? Mark and Leanne, thumbs down. And Andy says maybe. Eva, you put your thumb up, did you? Yeah, why is that?
So I've had the unfortunate experience to come across quite a few people who have used their autism as not an explanation for why they do certain things, but as an excuse. I don't know if you remember this person, Sarah, but I remember there was someone who literally used to go up to people and punch them and then say, and when people used to say that's not okay, they go, oh, it's okay, I'm autistic, I'm allowed to do that. And
No, yeah.
it was awful. And during one of my first jobs, there was again somebody who had autism who was horrible to people, absolutely horrible. And it didn't matter how many times people would explain that it's not appropriate. They literally would say, you can't get upset with me because I'm autistic. And they wouldn't get, because I think there is a huge difference between somebody who genuinely does not know the social etiquette and somebody who believes that they have a free pass to not only say what they think, but to actually hurt people's feelings. It's really unfortunate that I've met more than those two examples of people who genuinely think that their autism gives them a get out of jail free card to not just say what they think, but to genuinely cause either physical or emotional harm, or make it an unfair experiment. I mean, I remember that I was at a job interview for a role, and it was one of those job interviews where they made it really easy for people with autism, where they said, we're going to have a day-long workshop, so we can kind of really, it was really to help people. And there was somebody who literally kept putting their hand up and kept putting their hand up, and not even to ask questions, but just to talk. And when people said, okay, this is completely going off guard, they go, you have to let me talk. This is a day for people with autism, and I have autism, so this is my day. And literally bulldozed their way and ruined the whole event, because they wanted to talk about not just like the role, but they would talk about their personal life. They would talk about, they would, and literally ruined the whole day for everyone else, because they felt like they needed to make that day about them. When the person who was running the event took them outside and said, you are pushing this too far, they kept going and kept going and kept going. And the thing is, I think having autism can sometimes be such a huge constraint, but when it gets to a point where you only think of yourself in that situation and nobody else to you matters, that is not okay. It really upsets me, because then what sometimes happens is that those people around me, people who maybe don't have autism, will then go, oh, that's what autistic people are like, and then they will start painting me with the exact same brush, and then I have to deal with the negative effect. Even after that person left the room or left the group, I have to deal with being stereotyped, and sometimes it will take me months to build up the trust again that not all autistic people are like that. We unfortunately live in a world where people do stereotype, where they see one person with autism and they assume everyone is like that, and suddenly they are not so opening to open jobs to us. They're not so opening to give us a second chance, because they think, oh, you are all like this. It takes one person to unfortunately create a situation where people don't feel like they want to go the extra mile for people with autism.
One of my friends was dating someone who said they were autistic, and basically this autistic guy basically cheated on my friend, and basically the whole reason was, because he was autistic, so it doesn't technically count or whatever. And I think the majority of people who know me know I don't get angry over stuff. Like, I'm not that sort of person. I was livid. I can understand if people have issues with things and accessing things, then saying that they're autistic in that scenario I think is perfectly fine. But like what with Eva saying what you said before, which is absolutely disgusting, by the way. There's no excuse for that.
I would be okay if I had a child who is autistic. Yes, no, or maybe. Oh, Victoria says yes. Who else says yes? Mark, Andy. Oh, really? But what's that? I'm serious.
I feel like I'm doing all the controversial ones.
No. Tell us why. Tell us.
Okay. So my view on this is very simple. I have had a very hard life. I have had the struggles of autism, and I don't have any children, but I know that I would love them. I'm in a same-sex relationship, and very early on, the idea of kids came up, and I said very early on to my partner, actually, that I would want them to be the biological parent, because I'll be honest, I think I would really struggle watching my children go through what I've had to go through, you know? And if there is a way that I can mitigate them having to ever have that in their life, and I know that studies aren't 100% on whether or not autism is genetic. I'm not saying that if my child then came out autistic anyway, that I would love them any less, because I wouldn't. But a bit like how some people who have genetic things, they go through IVF to make sure their children don't have the same thing as they. It's exactly the same, where I just want to give my children the best chance. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with having autism. I just think it's one of those simple things as, if I can stop it happening, I would.
I relate to what Eva said, actually. I wouldn't want a child to go through what I went through. But if I did have a child that was autistic, I would love them and try and nurture them and bring them up in a better way than what I went through. But
Absolutely.
Me and my husband have already spoke about this. We don't want kids, because I don't think that I could handle being a parent.
Me and Nicola have talked about kids, and it is something that we both want. It took me a long time to come around to the idea. I'm going to be honest, it took me a long time to come around to the idea, because I kind of had this thought of, I'm not going to be capable of looking after another little human being. I mean, I'm more than enough work already, I feel like, sometimes. So to have a little mini me or a mini fiance running around, it just seems mad. And also as well, I think being like the autistic dad, really, I feel like in a societal sense, there's like a lot of expectation on the guy, especially if there's a son or something, to like teach them all of these things. And I personally worry about that, because it's like I'm just over here chilling, you know, and like the little person like wants to play football. It's just like I'm not that blokey, to be honest. I have no other way of explaining it, but it's like I do want kids, but I think I kind of agree with I do agree with what Victoria said. Like, I wouldn't wish my experiences on anyone else, but because it's me and I've been through that, it kind of makes it easier to prepare them for it, I guess. I'm not saying I'm not saying at all it's, you know, going to be a plain sailing, because nothing is, but you know, I guess it makes it a little bit easier, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I'm single, I don't actually have a partner, so I might not have kids for a while. But if I did in the future have a family, then I wouldn't mind if it was a normal or autistic child. I wouldn't mind. But I think, like what the others say, it would be quite tricky. But I wouldn't mind like doing like babysitting, because I've got lots of young children in my family, and I've always helped out, look after them. So, and like what Victoria said, if I did have an autistic son or daughter, I'd make sure that he or she didn't go through the same nightmare I went through, especially with school. I don't want to see them go through 11 years of hell, just like I did.
Everyone gets like positive or bad experiences, but with autism, you always get the negative experiences, because you think and you wonder whether you're thinking in 10 years or 25 years time, will autism be accepted, or things would have changed in time? That's always the main worry in the future. But I guess whatever happens, really, we're just going to have to like just see what happens, really, because depending if anything changes, who knows what's going to happen. Most people with autism are not sexual or can be part of the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah, I knew you were going to put the thumbs down. What about everyone? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe? Oh, everyone's uncertain. Oh, Victoria, you got your thumbs down as well. So is Andy.
It's interesting because when I was younger, I remember watching a documentary, and you had a load of autistic people in a pub saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not interested in having a partner or getting intimate," and like I was like really shocked by that, and I was like, "Oh, so when I grow up, I won't want a partner. I won't." And since then, you know, we live in a world where, you know, we do have more YouTubers and influencers, and we do have a bigger kind of variety of life. You know, it isn't just neurotypical people casting people for what they think autism is and then presenting that, you know, which is wonderful. And I think that, you know, we've proven wrong. I mean, I know a lot of people on who are autistic who are either bisexual or gay or lesbian or transgender. And yeah, so I think that when it comes to that, it's definitely a myth. But sexual stuff, I think again, it really depends on the person. I've met people who are not interested in sex at all, and that's fine. I've met people who are very interested in sex, and that's fine. I think that, like, people with autism are very much like everyone else when it comes to it. You know, it may, sensory wise, it may be slightly different, but apart from that, yeah,
that's really interesting, because I know you told me when we did a collab last year, you told me about your story as well, and I was really inspired by that, because I never knew that like with the, I don't know how to say this because I'm trying to put it into my own words because everything had to sink in, but I thought that it was really great that you found something like that, and then also you did an article for the National Autistic Society about it as well.
I did.
And it's brilliant. It's super brilliant, actually, because it explains how much you've done really great for the LGBT community. And I have to say, a virtual
I've done nothing for the community. The community's done more for me, love. No, I've just been part of it. I'm just like that person on the side, like, I'm here too.
The day that my parent or carer is no longer with me scares me, and I don't know what I'll do. So in other words, if someone like a parent or carer, you know, is like, depending if you're religious or not, has like either gone to heaven or is not with you anymore, and does it really scare you to be like that you are on your own? So thumbs up, thumbs up. Oh, Victoria's got 2 thumbs up, and Eva's maybe, and Andy and Mark have like thumbs up as well.
It absolutely terrifies me, because I have no idea what I will do without my parents, because me and my husband live with them and they pay all the bills and everything, and just to know that they're not going to be there, even though I've got my husband, it terrifies me, because I honestly don't know what I'd do without them.
I'm the same with Victoria, because with my mum, she does like all the complicated stuff like paying bills, filling in forms, and because she's not autistic, she knows more things than I do. And if she goes there and I'm like, oh, I'm dog food.
The only thing I can really say is this, is I, for the last kind of, I'd say, 7 years of my life, I've lived very independently. I've pretty much fend myself. I mean, during the pandemic, right at the beginning, I had about a good 3-4 months where literally didn't get to see my parents. My partner was in another country, so literally I was isolated. So I know I can do it. If there was an apocalypse and my partner and my parents were gone, I wouldn't starve. My bills would still get paid, even though it was an apocalypse. But life would go on. The reason I kind of put my hand in the middle is because when my partner went back to America, where she lives, just after Christmas, I had a couple of days where I literally was like, oh my God, because I was so used to her being there. And, you know, I was like, how do I eat? What do I eat? Because I'm terrible at feeding myself. I am the worst at meal planning. You ask me to do a meal plan or a budget, I can't help you, you know? So I can do it, but my quality of life definitely goes down.
I think in terms of a parents, I am actually in the position where they live like 20 miles away, so I don't see them regularly. I see more of Nicola's family than I do my own. Well, the reason why I put my did the thumbs up really was I was thinking more about my Nicola, if she was to go before me, I wouldn't know how to kind of I don't know, just do the things that people do, because like I've never lived on my own or anything. I've always had someone around, but I do kind of feel though, if we're in that position where we have to, you know, fend, well, it's a bit barbaric, but fend for ourselves, would naturally go about doing it, I think. So that's kind of my two cents on it.
If there was a magic cure for autism, I wouldn't take it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe. Oh, Victoria's got thumbs up. Eva's got thumbs up. Everyone's got their thumbs up. Oh, that's really interesting. So who wants to go first? Shall we start off with Victoria?
I wouldn't want a cure, even though I think life has been difficult at times. I am who I am, and I wouldn't be me without that. I wouldn't have my special interests, and there's so many things that would be so different, and I can't imagine myself without it.
One of my previous videos, Q&A video, I described being autistic. It's kind of like being Raven from, you know, that comedy show That's So Raven, because she's psychic. There was an opportunity where she had where she could have got rid of her visions for good, but then she decides, no, actually, I'll keep my visions. Yes, sometimes I get into trouble, so things don't always work out, but I like having my visions. Well, it's kind of like that. I like being autistic. Yes, I'm rubbish at social skills. I don't have a job or a girlfriend, but so I like being autistic. It's what makes me unique, logical, and creative.
I suppose I would wonder what would happen if I took this thing. Like, would I have a huge personality change? Would people like me? Would all my relationships break down because I've become this other person? Would I be a terrible person? Would I be like that nasty person? Because that's the thing, is I think I have a theory that having autism means you have too much empathy. So I think, honestly, I don't know if I'd like me if I didn't have autism.
Yeah, I wouldn't, because it's just, well, I'm fine with the person that I am. I'm not like being someone else. It just seems like a weird thing, because like I've said, it took me a long time to kind of come around to the idea of the diagnosis and things, for me personally. And I did try to be the person that goes out and be all laddie and whatever else, and like it just wasn't interesting to me. Like I'd rather just, you know, be secluded, you know, like editing, being creative, all those sorts of things. You know, I'm perfectly happy. Why would I want to change that?
So that's all the submissions on the panel. But before we go, I'd like to ask, does anyone have anything to add? Like, do they want to add some additional information on things that we haven't covered, or did someone wanted to do feedback or add something that they want to say? What do you guys think?
Well, one thing I like to say is, if you are autistic, do let people know that you're autistic. I mean, especially at a younger age, if you've been diagnosed at a young age, the sooner you tell people, the sooner they can help. I mean, don't make the mistake that Elsa made. You know, Elsa from Frozen, when she had her ice powers, she tried to hide them, and that kind of made things worse and worse. So the sooner people know that you're autistic, the sooner you can get the right support.
I'm so happy you mentioned Disney, because that put me a big smile on my face, because you know, Disney has always had a positive enthusiasm for some people on the autism community, and Elsa is really a good example for that. I really, really like that, definitely. Does anyone else have anything to add as well?
Just to what Mark said, for like adults who have been late diagnosed, for them to know that there is a community of people out there for them.
I guess just you just being you's a good thing, and you should never have to change for anyone. Just be yourself. Like, if people don't like it, then they can just
they could just like, oh, if Jack was here still, he would just go like, this is his saying that he always used to do. He just like, if someone doesn't appreciate you, then you go jog on. It's brilliant, and I wish Jack was here to like actually say this, but I definitely agree with what Andy says. Really, if someone doesn't appreciate you for who you are, it's their loss, and they shouldn't be around you. You have to be around with people who appreciate you and like or love you for who you are, not what you are really, because if you're using a person kind of like as a label rather than human person, why are you in this person's life? That's all I've got to like ask for everybody, because this is something that I think everyone should reflect on, really, and not just in like the autism community, but for every single community, I think, as well. And then Eva, did you want to say one thing as well?
Sure. I think the only thing I would say is it took me a long time to kind of find friends, and I think never kind of give up looking for your kind of people, because I think that when you do find them, you'll know it's worth the wait. And you may have so many failed attempts, so many friendship groups that you kind of join, realize they're not the right one, and then kind of go. And you know, it's okay if it takes you like 25 years to find friends, because you know, it took me basically that long.
Thank you so much to everyone who got involved, and I know I've got to say massive thank you to Eva, Mark, Victoria and Andy for coming on today, but also a massive thank you to Leanne and Jack, but obviously they had to leave during the process of the panel. But you guys have been absolutely amazing, and thank you so much for coming today. And I know that we've talked about like everything we do for about 2.5 hours, but it's been absolutely a pleasure to talk to you guys. And if you want to have a look at Mark's, Victoria's, Andy's and Leanne's channels, I will leave all the links in the description box down below. And then yeah, that's all I've got to say, really. So guys, you've been amazing. Thank you so much, and happy World Autism Awareness Day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that was it. That was our autism panel. I really hope you enjoyed it. I could have gone on about this forever, but because there was a little bit lack in time, I decided that I had to cut down a few questions towards the end. However, I'm thinking about doing another panel at some point, but I want to let you guys know, what do you think? Should I do another one, or should I actually do a few one-to-one interviews like I did during the previous days this week? Or a lot of people have said to me I should do a podcast. What do you guys think? Should I do one or all three? Let me know in the comment section down below. And then also let me know in the comments, what's your own personal experiences through the submissions that I have said to everyone on the panel today? Let me and tell me about it in the comment section down below, and let's get talking about it. I would really love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this one. And then yeah, I'll definitely wrap up this video because my throat is literally losing its voice box. I don't know the right word to say this, but yeah, I'm definitely losing my voice, so I'll end the video here. And until then guys, I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful Autism Awareness Day wherever you are in the world. And as always remember to keep on dreaming and never stop believing. Stay safe, stay well, look after yourself, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!